We're live. How's everybody doing?
Good. Doing well.
Fantastic.
Awesome. So welcome everyone. This is your inner circle, not another pyramid scheme. This is our 4th event this year, so we're excited to have you. I think if you've attended before, you kind of know how these go. It's a Q&A. We want you to be actively involved. So I'm going to set the logistics. We'll level set everything. There's a chat box, first and foremost, right-hand side. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, if you want any additional insight from any of our presenters, any of our panelists, please use that chat box. We are also streaming on Facebook Live. If you are on Facebook Live, please use the chat box. Also, if you're on Facebook Live, there's going to be about a 10-second delay from when we speak to when you hear us, but that should not be a big deal. So questions, comments, concerns, please use that chat box. Get active in there. We want to see conversation in there, and we will respond to your questions. So once again, this is not another pyramid scheme. Totally legit financial wellness panel. I know from the flyer you might have been a little off foot, but I promise you this is totally legit. We're here to talk about making money. We're here to talk about investing. We're here to talk about saving. I have 4 wonderful panelists, and one of those 4 is actually going to be a co-moderator. So the urban prophet himself, Nick Williams, and then my 3 other panelists, I'll let them introduce themselves shortly. So a little bit about what your inner circle is for those who have not attended before. Your inner circle is basically lessons in your living room. So whatever the topic might be for that week or for that month, we want to have a conversation. We want to provide entry level, but really good information that you can take away and that you can apply tomorrow as soon as possible. So it's not just pie in the sky, like very, very abstract advice. We want to give you hard, tangible advice that you can take away and you can apply immediately. So that's your inner circle in a nutshell. Once again, this is not another pyramid scheme. I am Shell Vermel, so founder of Your Inner Circle. I am going to let my co-moderator, Nick Williams, introduce himself and his platform.
Cool. Hello. So everyone, as Shell said, my name is Nicholas Williams, or Nick for short. I'm creator and editor-in-chief of theurbanprophet.com. I'm a personal finance turned personal business blog, if you will. So really just aimed at, similar to what Shell said, creating those digestible bits of financial wellness information, whether it be from, creating a savings to, entrepreneurial goals, so on and so forth. So I'm really just trying to be a catalyst of providing not only that information, but allowing others who are a part of different financial outlets the opportunity and abilities to be an outlet on that financial website as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Nick. And let's start with our panelists. So Skylar, we'll start with you. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm Skylar Cosby. I am a finance manager for GE Digital. And I guess that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you, Skylar. So let's go with Dan. How about you? Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Dan Sanders. I'm a senior relationship manager. I've been in the financial services industry for over 13 years. My current role, I assist the mass affluent space with financial planning. That makes up banking, lending, investments, education, and estate planning.
Perfect. And last but not least, Vance, how about you? Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody. My name is Vance Fulton. I am a senior internal auditor with Adient. That's my 9-to-5. And as far as my side business, I co-own a tax and consulting business with my father. I am a certified public accountant as well as a certified internal auditor. Just happy to have the opportunity to be on this panel, and I hope you guys are able to take something away.
Awesome. I'm happy to have you, Vance. Thank you. Thank you for joining. So we'll jump right into it. So how this panel is going to work. So Nick and I are co-hosting. So this is also brought to you by the Urban Prophet. I'm going to ask a few questions. We're going to tag team these questions. So I'll ask the first couple of questions, then I hand it over to Nick, and then he'll take it from there. So I'll ask the first question to our panelists, and we'll see what answers we get. So first question, in your own words, very, very basic. In your own words, what do you consider financial literacy to be? What do you consider financial literacy to be? I'll start with Skylar.
Yeah, so I'd say that it's having the skills and knowledge to make decisions about money to reach your goals, whether that's traveling, saving for other endeavors that you have, or expanding your top line to bring in additional revenue. So really just having an overall picture of skills to make those decisions.
Love it. I love expanding your top line. Make more money. Love it. Love it. Let's go with Dan. How about you?
So just to add on, so just knowing the tools and services that are out there for you. So it's like with anything else you do in life, there's always things that are evolving. So just reading up on new things to understand new laws, new financial products that's out there that can either help you with consolidating debt or even creating more wealth for yourself. So just constantly reading up and finding the tools and services that can help you reach your financial goals.
Perfect. Vance, anything you'd like to add?
Man, they hit it off the park already. But my definition of financial literacy is to piggyback off of Dan and Skylar, is that it's to apply the strategies and methods to use money, and is equivalent to build your own goal or vision of what wealth means to you. Also, while giving you the freedom to do the things that you want to do, whether that's planning for you want to go on a trip, or if you want to do certain things as far as starting a business, or other avenues that you want to make more money. So.
Awesome, love it. All right, thank you. Next question. So, what are some of the biggest challenges you see people face in their financial literacy / wellness? So what are some of the biggest challenges that you three have seen? I'll start with Dan. How about you?
Listening to family members and friends that really are not in the profession, that's the biggest challenge. Just being in the financial industry, is getting over those hurdles. Well, my uncle said this, and then you ask them, what does your uncle do? Oh, he's a plumber.
Right.
But he knows everything about, finance, and he really doesn't. And it's so many things that could really be helping. So I would say, when you do go in and speak with a professional, go in with an open mind. And in that way, from there, you can really get past some of the hurdles that family and friends have put in your mind to not help you get to your financial goals that you need to.
That's a good call out. So you're saying Big Mama and Pop probably don't give the best financial advice sometimes?
Right. Saying the stock market is bad for you and you should just put the money under your mattress.
Shoebox.
Right.
Cool. Got it. Understood. Vance, how about you?
The biggest challenge that I've seen people, as far as personally, is just how to deal with debt. Debt being a burden to them. People can't do certain things because they're so debt driven, or also, they're in debt because they have been doing the things that they want to do. So, somebody might take out a loan or max out their credit card as far as they want to take a trip, or if they want to buy certain things, which is, in my opinion, counterproductive. However, you could use debt as a burden, or it could be a tool that you use effectively. So that's the biggest burden that I've seen as far as people.
Can you expound on the tool part of debt really quick? I know I don't want to jump too far into the questions, but can you expound on how can debt be used as a tool?
So debt can be as a tool. So like, for example, say if somebody is in the real estate arena, so they could use a mortgage on a rental property. Say if the mortgage is, for example, $100 a month to put a debt on this house, and I'm going to charge rent $700-800 a month. I'm having that additional cash flow of $600 to $700 a month. Based on me using my credit, having good credit, and being able to get that loan to put a mortgage on that house. Now it's turning and generating cash flow for me. So that's where debt can be used as a tool compared to, again, maxing out a credit card to buy something that you like or need. So,
that makes sense. No, thank you for that. Scott, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I would just say about comparisons. Be careful about comparing your goals and metrics with others. Just because you have a savings goal of 25% or somebody else has 5 doesn't mean that they have the same spending habits or the same situation that you have. So just be conscious of what you personally have as your goal, and just be cognizant of when you're talking to others that might not have the same situation, but definitely want to make sure that you're aligned on the resources that you do have available to maximize the best of your situation.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So no, that was really, really good. So really quick, if you notice, so this is for our audience, in the right-hand side, you should see an option that says polls, and we have a poll question for you. So the question is, are you a good saver? Answer number 1 is, I keep a healthy emergency fund. Answer number 2, depends on the month. And answer number 3, I save to spend. It all gotta go. I can't take it with me, so it's out of here. So please give us your answers in the poll. Right now, I keep a healthy emergency fund is winning with 54% of the vote. All right, so we're gonna continue on. Once again, quick reminder, if you have any questions, comments, if you want any additional insight, please use the chat box and we will get to your question. Now, I am going to turn the question duties over to the Urban Prophet himself, and I'm gonna hang back here.
Cool. I definitely appreciate that. And I appreciate you sharing the poll, because that's kind of where I wanted to kind of lead the conversation in regards to saving. So we had a couple of responses in the poll, but I wanted to pose to the panel. And Vance, I want to start with you on this one for sure. On any advice in regards to saving percentages or allocations, whether it be in regards to, how much you make over, a monthly period, or how much you get paid, bi-weekly, or any advice in regards to that?
So I guess I'm going to use myself as an example. So when I first started working full time, my goal was to save at least, you see a lot of material out there to save at least 6 months of expenses. But me being an avid saver, I end up doing a year worth of expenses. The way you could make that assessment is, to pull either, if you have credit card statements or your personal bank account statements, pulling that data to see how much money you're spending, whether it be in a year or a certain amount of months, depending on what your financial goals, if it's going to be 6 months or a year. See what that amount is, and then put that as the target to your goal. And based on that particular amount, whether it be 10 grand, for example, if it's going to take you 6 months to save $10,000, then, based on that, look at your income that you bring in, and then, adjust your percentages of how much you want to save accordingly.
And then, Skylar, Dan, anything to add to that?
I mean, as far as percentages, just a good rule of thumb that I use for a lot of my clients that are starting off with work, is, if you're doing 10% to your 401ks, and then try to do 10% to your savings. Or if someone is starting at a point to where, let's say they've been working 20, 30 years and it's kind of hard for them to save, first you have to build a habit. So you can start with, let's say, $50 a paycheck, but continue that habit. And then as you either pay things down, continue to add to it. So, I mean, there's no right or wrong answer, like Vance was saying, and like Skylar said earlier, it's building that habit. So no one can tell you what that number is. You just have to build that habit and keep with it.
And Skylar, I know you touched on it a little bit before, but anything to add off of that?
No, I think they really touched on it. I'd say one trick that's definitely helped for me is getting direct deposited straight into a savings account. So it's kind of out of mind, out of sight. You're not tempted to use it if it's in your checking account. And if it comes to a point where more or less you are in a situation, you still have the flexibility to move things around. But I think that, passively having it working for you and saving automatically definitely takes some of the pressure off of trying to move things around after the fact.
For sure. And one of the things, mentioning those habits, and so one of the questions that I wanted to pose to the panel is in regards to the current culture that we're all a part of, especially with social media and essentially the ease of information and the ease of getting it so quickly. Do you have any thoughts in regards to how that is kind of impacting either habits, either negatively or positively?
So I'll go with that. I think it affects positive if and it's all pun intended here, is your inner circle is doing the same things you should be doing. So if you're following people on your IG that are doing the same things that you want to do, it's going to be a positive effect. If you're following people that are, let's just say rappers or IG influencers, then you're going to try to do those things and it's going to have a negative impact. So surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals is most definitely going to have a positive impact on you, because they're going to talk about, how they're saving, how they're paying off their student loans, how they're investing, what they're investing in, how they can help you get started in that, So it's all about the circle that you keep is going to make if it's going to be positive or a negative effect for you.
Vance, anything to add to that?
Dan hit it right on the head with that one. You are the company that you keep. I know that's very cliche, but things that you see on social media, if it's a lot of negative, you tend to indulge in such things. However, if you're surrounded by the right people who are doing the right things, then that's going to have a positive effect on you. I follow Dan and he always gives me tips and things. So that's an example of, make sure you got the right people in your circle that's going to push you to do better.
Absolutely. Pick up those couple of nuggets and gems whenever you can, right?
Right.
Exactly.
So with savings, one of the things that I've experienced with the Urban Prophet, I've had the chance to, speak in a couple of different engagements. And so talking to a very wide age range of folks in regards to creating a budget and more so around savings. And one of the things that I've kind of run into, especially as you look into some of our inner cities, so our Detroits and our Chicagos, is that folks are, they definitely want to create those budgets. However, they can only, cut so much. They've cut the cable bills and, they've cut all of the frivolous spending, but they still find themselves coming up short. And so one of the questions that I had, and want to lend to Vance for this one first, because I know you had a couple of ventures in regards to this, but any tips in regards to making more money?
As far as making more money, you can assess. So like for me, to use myself as an example, what do my friends come to me for? They come to me for tax advice, just general financial advice or business advice. So for the longest time, when I first started in public accounting, I just wasn't doing taxes, even though a lot of my friends would always ask me tax questions, or people would be like, why don't you do taxes? It just finally just dawned on me, this is something that I could make money as far as doing outside of just giving my friends advice on the side or things like that. So that's kind of what drove me to do it. Constantly hearing somebody asking you that question, why aren't you doing this? And that ultimately is what drove me to start my tax business with my dad. Even though my dad has been doing taxes for a long time, he was actually the first person to teach me how to do taxes. But that's when I made it a conscious effort to actually turn it into, as far as actual business venture. So just always seeing, what do your friends come to you for? And, if there's any way that you can add value to their lives, also monetize it. That's key.
Sure, absolutely. Skylar and Dan, anything to add?
Yeah, just, whatever your passion is. If you're passionate about baking cakes, but you work at Ford, hey, make some cakes, go in there, sell it on your lunch break. Everybody has something that deep down inside of them that they're good at, cutting hair, whatever it might be, is ways to make extra money. And then, making sure that your money is working for you is the key thing. So instead of having, 50 grand in a checking account, go in and talk to your local banker and see if it's something that you can use to help you earn some better interest or get some dividends or different things. So there's a number of ways you can, create more income for yourself. I think the biggest thing is just getting out and speaking with somebody. Once again, it goes back to your inner circle. Talk to them and say, hey, I need to make some more money. They're going to tell you, hey, you're good at this. You should probably be doing this. Like, Vance, you're good at taxes. You can charge people for the tax advice you get. You know how much they charge, millionaires for the tax advice? You can charge people for this. You probably don't have to charge them, $50,000, but the people that are in your local neighborhood, they most definitely that have a barbershop, that has a cake baking business, they don't know the different things they can write off. You can charge them, $100, $200, and then next year they make another $50,000, $60,000 off that business. When you go up on your price, they're gonna be like, no, it's value with you meeting them. So talking to people, they'll most definitely tell you what you're great at, because they're gonna tell you what you're bad at. So you might as well get some of the good stuff out of it also. So just once again, going to that inner circle and seeing how you can produce more income for yourself.
And then Skylar, anything to add? I know he threw a shameless cake plug in there. I don't know if you have anything in the works with that or not, but
I don't have a side hustle, or at least not yet. But Julius in the chat actually brought up a good point, making sure that whatever you're doing, even if your current job, make sure that, you're making market rate and your value. So I think it's something that's definitely applicable. I know it's something that I did recently in terms of asking for a raise. So make sure that, you're being compensated for the value that you bring to your role every day.
Absolutely.
We also have go ahead. We have some questions.
Go ahead,
yeah, so we have some questions in the chat, and I'll jump down to Maurice's question. What are your thoughts on refinancing during the pandemic, and what should I be focusing on, assuming we plan to sell in 3 to 4 years? So I'm assuming this is a real estate question. So would anybody like to tackle this? Thoughts on refinancing during the pandemic?
I mean, right now we have some all-time low rates. The thing that comes into play is with you planning on selling in 3 to 4 years, you have a number of things you can look at. So shortening the term is really not a thing that you're probably looking for. So you probably can do something where you're looking at refinancing it for a 30-year window, depending on how far you're in now, to where you're getting a lower payment and you're saving that extra money to help put down the down payment on the new home that you're looking at. So it all depends on the goals that you're having. So, you have to measure your goals with the different products and services that are out there. And most definitely sit down with a lending specialist. They'll be able to help you with the different products and services that are out there to get you, one, a great rate, and also achieve the goal that you're trying to have, especially if you're looking at selling in 3 to 4 years. You could save a lot of money on the interest side, and by extending it out to save some money on the payment so you can put towards the down payment of a new home for yourself.
Love it. Great answer. Would anybody else like to answer?
I literally just helped my dad with this question like last week because they've been beating down his door trying to get him to refinance. So there's actually some refinancing calculators out there. You could just Google it, honestly, and then just compare the current rates and the payments on your current mortgage and compare it to what that new interest rate and mortgage payment would be on the one that they're offering you. And the calculator should be able to spit out which one is the best option for you.
Awesome. Yeah, they've been beating down my door as well. I've been getting plenty of letters and mails and phone calls about refinancing. So we're looking at that. That's good advice for me. I'll take that. Next question from Charman. What do you recommend? So where should I keep my money? Bank, credit union, or mattress? Bank, credit union, or mattress?
I guess I'll take this one. It all depends on who you have the best relationship with. If your local credit union provides the services that you need, most definitely, and they're giving you the rates and the services you need, most definitely, If it's more of a regional bank or a national bank, it's more so where you feel comfortable. You have to be able to build a relationship with that local branch or bank, and then from there, make a decision. I don't think one is better than the other. It's just more so, once again, building that relationship and being able to, them trust you and you trust them, and make sure that you're getting the services for your financial goals that you need from that institution.
I see somebody in the chat. Julius says he has a great relationship with his mattress. I actually thought the same thing. So that's a great answer. I do have a great relationship with my mattress. Also, while we're here, everybody should give Julius a shout out. So he just did a pitch competition and he came in 4th place out of 400 pitchees or pitchers. I don't know. One of those. So he came in 4th place. Julius just won $5,000 today.
Wow, congratulations.
Right, that was crazy. He's a Your Inner Circle alumnus. So congratulations, Julius. Shout out to you. Anyone else?
Yes.
E-clap.
Clap all around. Skylar, where do you keep your money at?
Bank, actually a couple banks. I would say the first one, the thing that gets me heartburn is banks that charge you for holding your money. So I definitely would stay away from those ones where there's like, if you go under $1,000, you get charged. Also ones where savings rates are very, very low. I want to say I made like 7 cents last year. And definitely try to utilize maybe like a high yield savings account. So there's definitely tools where they're making 1.3%, which is definitely more than some other banks. So I would say just kind of see what's out there. You could, you're not held to just one bank. Like I mentioned, I actually have a couple for different purposes, but definitely look for those opportunities. And maybe if, your job has your 401k in one establishment, it makes sense to also have a checking account there for seamless transactions or looking at your portfolio as a whole. So whatever works for your convenience, but definitely stay away from those other banks that charge you for your money.
Yeah, I actually have 5 bank accounts, and they have each one has its own purpose. So my first one was Comerica. My mom opened that up for me when I was a kid. They had the little quarter packet that you turned in, and that was your first deposit. Then I got a Chase account because of the convenience. Chase is everywhere. Then I had a credit union because credit unions usually give you the best rates if you're financing a car or even sometimes mortgages. Then I have 2 high yielding savings accounts. And the reason I have 2 is because usually there's always some type of sign up bonus where they give you either $200 or $300 for depositing a certain amount of money into them. So it's basically free money for me. Basically, if I didn't deposit those into those accounts, they would have just been collecting even 7 cents over a year in a Comerica or a Chase account. So that's why each one of mine have a different purpose. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, most definitely staying on top of your banks with rates. I mean, I would at least do an audit of rates at least every 6 to 12 months because, they'll lower them and you'll find one online or somewhere else. And you can most definitely call them up and ask them if they can increase it. Or like Van said, find somewhere that, would take it, give you a bonus and give you a better offer. And like I said, it's all about your money working for you.
That's a good call out. So really quick, I'm going to jump to the poll and I'm going to kick it back to Nick. He can run through the rest of these questions. We're a half hour in already. So do you stick to a budget? Answers in the poll. I have a line item for everything. 50% of our respondents say I have a line item for everything. Budget who? 0%? Okay, that's good. I could use some help, another 50%. So split 50-50. I can use some help, just took the lead. All right, Nick, questions back to you and keep it rolling.
Yeah, so I really wanted to kind of backtrack a little bit to a piece of Skylar's response, more so in regards to one of your instruments being your 401k. As we are all, part of the global pandemic, one of the things that's definitely been impacted is, of course, like the stock markets and things like that. And so The questions that I had is if you had any advice in regards to worried investors or 401k investors as we kind of navigate through this pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just say keep doing it. I think one of those things in the long term, they say the market usually outperforms about 7% long term. So I think that even in the short term, things may not be the best and things are definitely more uncertain. But if you're able to keep contributing and definitely continue that, I think also depending on, I guess, taxes, it brings down your taxable income. It's just another way to save. It's one of those things you pay yourself first. It's kind of way to think about it.
Sure. And then Dan, anything to add to that?
I'm totally one-sided on this. This is the best time to actually get into the market. I mean, keeping doing the same thing and even adding in more. I was in the banking industry when, 2008 hit, and all of my clients that I spoke to that actually invested during that time love me. The ones that didn't, they avoid me because they're like, I should have listened. And so, I mean, that probably the average age of people that are probably on this right now can most definitely withstand the risk at this point, to where in 6-7 years, when they see the investment that they made in this moment, they'll be happy that they did it, that they took the risk in putting money into the market. When you look at any of the indices over the life of the market, it's always trending up. So this is, a very important tool to build wealth, not just for yourself, but for your kids, your grandkids, your great grandkids. This is how a lot of America has become wealthy, is through the stock market. And so you just have to become knowledgeable, read, and talk to people to really understand it so you can take advantage of it.
That's anything to add?
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough where I didn't need to make any adjustments for my 401k. As far as the pandemic, thank God that I live below my means, and I'm an avid saver. But to echo what Dan said, I definitely believe this is the perfect time to get into the market if you can afford it. If you look back again at 2008, the financial crash, it was a lot of people who became millionaires after that, who did invest, into the market. So again, I'm fortunate enough to not really be that much affected by it, but if you can afford it, definitely invest if you can.
I mean, there's tricks around it also. I mean, just to give you a little bit. So if you don't have the cash to actually go out and open a brokerage account, but let's just say you have extra cash within your budget that comes to you each month, and you're not maxing out your 401k, put more money into your 401k. That's going into the market. So that's a way that you can get money into the market and not have to worry about actually going out and getting a brokerage account. Yeah, it holds it up until retirement, but hey, it gets you to that retirement goal that you have a little bit faster. So there's a number of ways to do it. If you don't want to actually take cash out of your savings account, you can do it. Dollar cost averaging into the market is one of the best ways to get into the market.
And then with that, outside of your 401k, that's normally usually through your job or your employer. What other ways are you all would you recommend folks getting involved with the market?
You introduced me to Robin that I didn't really know about that. So people that want to pick individual stocks, it's a little harder picking individual stocks. But if you wanted to do something that wasn't tied up into individual retirement accounts or 401ks, where you can actually touch the money before you turn 59 and a half, most definitely opening a brokerage account and getting into ETFs. I mean, that will give you a diversified, array of stocks that could help you. You can pick individual sectors, you can pick different growth models. And you don't have to worry about trying to find which stocks, are they going to do this, are they going to do that. But if you wanted to pick individual stocks, I mean, there's a number of tools out there that can help you understand what's going on. Partnering with people that understand, balance sheets or things like that. With my wife being in finance, she can read a balance sheet in and out. And so I can show her a company and be like, hey, look at this balance sheet. Tell me what you see. Oh, this company is not, they don't have money. Like, it's bad. Don't do that. Oh, they have a lot of cash on hand, this and this. And then what I do is go look at the CEO. And I'm like, all right, is this CEO one of those people when the company goes into bad times and say, oh, we need to get back to basic, or are they a forward-thinking CEO? If they're a forward-thinking CEO and they have cash on hand, I look at that stock. But if I don't want to do all of that work, when you look at ETFs, and if I don't have a lot of cash to go buy an Amazon or Apple, when you purchase an ETF, it has all of those stocks in them, and you can invest in those companies at pennies on the dollar compared to what you would if you bought the individual stocks, and have a very diversified investment for yourself.
For sure. And so one of the things that you kind of mentioned in that, I kind of want to pick Skylar's brain in regards to this one is, looking at that balance sheet, kind of picking out, okay, these are some good indicators versus bad indicators in regards to how that stock is going to perform. But the question I have for Skylar is, as a company, producing that balance sheet essentially, what are some things that essentially make up a good business? And this is especially, for our entrepreneur folks who, may not be too used to looking at books or, especially from a financial professional standpoint, looking at things.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely, Dan touched on it, definitely depends on the business. I think a lot of stuff applies to industry specific. Cash is definitely a good indicator. If you're thinking about certain industries like manufacturing, you definitely want to look at inventory. Things are slow moving, probably not a good indicator of operations. You also have ones like tech companies where companies have been out for ages and still aren't producing positive op profit, or looking at recent acquisitions and potentially looking at their expansion goals. So I think a good rule of thumb, especially when you're looking at individual stocks or looking at companies specifically, I think a good sheet is always listening to or looking at the last investor call. Like the last 10 minutes of a call is actually when you have the market analysts actually asking the questions, and they pretty much do the due diligence for you. So they're like, oh, the last 4 quarters have kind of been terrible. You said you were going to do this 1 quarter ago. What's the deal? So I think a lot of time that has really good insights where it's not necessarily transparent. Also, like, you have hesitant when you see a company buying up a bunch of smaller companies and still have zero growth, right? You really are looking for that organic growth or positive strategic thinking, as Dan was alluding to earlier, for kind of where you want to think about things. So I guess in the nature of where we are now, if you think about 6 months ago, like Zoom was not on the map. So now you think about that, maybe our whole industry, like people like Twitter moving to 100% remote and people like Facebook potentially changing, that leaves a bigger space in that industry itself for e-conference lines and telecommunication and remote tools to enhance the workplace and individuals. So I think it's just, being in the know of current events and how that relates to different industries and what's going on to really think about how that's going to impact operations and then drive the overall business performance.
And then Vance, from an accounting and an auditing standpoint, anything that kind of add from that perspective?
So some of the key things to look at as far as the how healthy a business is. Again, Dan and Skylar already touched on cash flow. How much operating cash flow a business has on hand. Also, you want to look at working capital, which is basically your assets minus your liabilities. What is basically financing your revenues. And also you want to look at your debt to equity ratio as well. You want to see how much debt a company is bringing on in regards to how much equity is being put in that business as well.
Fulton. I want to definitely link it back over to Shell because I know I've seen some very good questions piling up over into the chat box. So, anything you wanted to kind of start with over there, Shell?
Yeah, I see Kellen has a really good question, and this one applies to me. It pretty much probably applies to everybody except for Vance. So, student loan debt sometimes seems impossible. Any recommendations on paying down student loan debt, since Vance is the only person in the world without any student loan debt?
Vance is literally the only person that I've ever paid off. I swear.
So the tools to, as far as paying down student loan debt, as far as you want to find out, just look at www.theurbanprofit.com. I'm joking. Well, do that because the story is on there. However, as far as paying off student loans, it starts with, just again, going back to what we talked about as far as saving, just coming up with a plan or kind of like a budget, looking at what you can afford as far as paying down some of that student loan debt. So, me personally at the time, thank God for my dad and my stepmom. I was able to tackle my student loan debt. They allowed me to stay at home so I could put more money as far as what I was bringing in towards student loan debt. However, I know everybody isn't in that type of situation. So it's coming up with, what you can afford. But of course, before you can really focus on paying down student loan debt, make sure you do have your emergency savings fund set up just in case something does happen, because you don't want to put all of your money into paying off your student loans. However, once you have that set up, then you can focus on whether it's 20%, 30%, as far as paying off that student loan debt. And, the strategy that I personally use, so there's normally two strategies as far as paying down debt. There's the snowball method, and then there's the avalanche method. So the snowball is basically cutting that low-hanging fruit, taking out those loan balances that are maybe a few $100s or $1,000, for example. And then the avalanche method is basically paying on your loans that has the highest interest rate, which basically, when you pay down interest, your loans tend to become shorter because you're not having accumulated interest being compounded, and then you're paying additional interest on top of that. So what I did is I call it the snowavalanche effect, which is a mix of both, as far as attacking it from both ends. I paid my first, there's a minimum payment for your student loans. So once I knocked that out, then I ended up having 10 student loans. So I picked I focused on 2 student loans after I paid my minimum. So which one had the lowest balance, and then which one had the highest interest rate. And then being able to attack them from both ends, again, that cutting that low hanging fruit that reduces your minimum loan payment that you have to pay every month. So then that way you could invest any of that additional money into those higher interest loans. And then as you pay down those higher interest loans, overall, your student loans are not gonna last as long because of that. So that method that I used, I ended up paying off like $43,000 in 4 years. So I was able to knock it out. And, I did the math. If I would have just stuck with the 10-year plan, which some people are even past the 10-year plan, if I would have did it in 10 years, I would have paid almost $10,000 more in interest, which to me, I believe interest, as far as consumer interest or interest that's you're paying to somebody else, is basically throwing money down the drain. So, but of course, if we could go into more details, anybody could reach out to me and we could have that conversation.
Love it. Vance, you know how I know you know what you're talking about?
What is that?
Because of all of these plaques on the wall behind you.
Oh, wow.
So I know exactly what you said to be true. All right, next question, man. We got a bunch of them. So we talked about some of the purposes of multiple savings or multiple accounts. What are some of the high yield savings accounts that some of you use? Does anybody have a high yield savings account? I think Skylar, I know you brought that up. Would you mind sharing some of those, or
Yeah, I think Vance answered, and he had a couple. I personally use Marcus by Goldman Sachs. They have favorable rates. I'm also like that they don't charge for external bank transfers. So it's been nice in terms of moving money in and out of other accounts as well.
Yeah, so the two that I have is HSBC and Discover. So I found the Discover one because I have a Discover credit card. I was paying my credit card bill and I saw that they had, at that time it was 2%, which was great. But now it didn't drop down to 1.3 because of the pandemic. And then I ended up getting the HSBC because they had the savings account in addition to, I think they gave me like a $500 bonus to sign up. So that's why I ended up opening that one as well.
Love it. Dan, would you like to add anything or are you good?
No, I think they got them.
All right, we got a lot of, Nick, how you doing on your questions? Can I spend some time in this chat?
Yeah, absolutely. I just got like one more kind of wrap up, so feel free.
All right, so we got some questions in the chat. Any thoughts on borrowing against your 401k? Has anybody borrowed against their 401k as of yet?
I mean, if you can avoid doing it, don't. But you know, in some aspects, it is a good tool for individuals that might be trying to start a business and they need a huge influx of cash and they see a huge upside to that business. I mean, it's a great opportunity. But other than that, I would, leave those funds as they are. I wouldn't recommend it. But like I said, there's those areas and those times where it could be beneficial for you. And most of the times that's when it comes to you have a business opportunity and you need that money, and that business opportunity is going to outpace anything that you're going to be able to do in that 401k.
Love it. Outpace by meaning return on investment, correct?
Correct.
Anyone else like that? Anything?
I agree with Dan to avoid it if possible, but if you do end up going into your 401k, I would recommend taking a loan out compared to just taking out a distribution. Because if you take a loan out, you wouldn't have to pay the penalty for early withdrawal, and then of course with that loan, you're basically paying yourself back with interest. So that's if you were or you need to pull, that's the method I would recommend that you pull it.
Good call. Skylar, would you like to add anything? Or are you good? All right. Next question. Does anyone have any hesitation with using online-only bank accounts? Any hesitations with online-only bank accounts? Dan, I'll toss it to you. I see you.
Nah. I mean, it's 2020. I mean, everything's going digital. I mean, even your brick and mortars are moving people to where they're working either via phone or via online. That's just the way that the world is moving into. So it shouldn't be any hesitation. Most definitely look at the name of the company. As long as it's a known bank or financial institution, I would say you wouldn't have a real problem with it.
Perfect. Love it.
Yeah, I would say I'll add to that as well in regards to online institutions, especially in regards to the brick and mortar aspect, because I know one of the institutions that I bank with is Ally. And with Ally, they're able to offer, better savings percentages across some of their products due to the fact that they don't have to worry about some of the overhead of, managing a brick and mortar business. So that's something to definitely look into, as well as you're kind of looking at savings instruments and things like that.
That's good. I like that. Nick, I really like your shirt.
Appreciate that, man. Got it from a really good guy. So, figured I'd throw it on tonight.
I really like that shirt. That looks like it can be found at shelbrumel.com/shop.
Shameless plug.
Really, really nice. Next question. Vance, this one's for you. What do you do to live below your means? What do you do to live below your means? Are you, who are your financial advisors?
My financial advisors is Julius from Everybody Hates Chris, Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob, and Jason Pitts from The Game. So what the methods that they use is you only spend what you need. That's basically how I live. I I tend to not spend my money on things that I want necessarily unless, I've saved up to do it. So I believe like my monthly expenses is maybe around 25 or 30% of what I bring in every month. So that's pretty much how I'm able to save as much as I save.
Perfect. Would anybody else like to mention? Are any of you either of you living below your budget, or are you like balling out? It doesn't matter. Care to the win.
No, I mean, I don't ball out or anything. I have a general guideline for budgeting. I used to live in San Francisco, so it was a high cost city. So definitely things fluctuated. But I moved back to the East Coast and things were a little more manageable. So overall, it's good.
Awesome. Good call out.
And a good tool that you can use to help you manage your money. What I personally use is I use the app Mint. So it kind of gives you an overall look at where you're at as far as the position of your money, and also you can set up budgets as far as if you want to set up a budget for food, or you can set up your rent budget, things like that. It allows you to better manage those expenses, and it gives you an overview of what you spent in the month, and it also gives you alerts when you've gone over your budget. So that's the tool that you can use to help you manage that.
Awesome. So I'm gonna do some quick fire here just to make sure that we get through all these questions. So first question, do you see a housing market decrease coming soon? Anybody would like to answer that? Any part-time real estate agents here?
I would say no. We have a shortage of supply of homes, so I don't see where it would decrease. I mean, it's a seller's market pretty much right now, so I really don't see a decrease in property value. And people are crazy, especially like in the New York area. They're moving out of the city and moving to the suburbs. So it really, the pandemic hasn't had an effect there yet. How it goes later in the year, who's to say?
Awesome. All right. Would anybody like to talk about options or futures? I know we talked a little bit about stocks earlier, but anybody like to talk about options or futures?
I just started getting into the futures market, day trading. It's some great training out there. It's a great way to, like we said, earn some extra money. I would say, be very careful with it. Make sure you're getting the education around it. Just don't jump into it. You can also use simulations to practice it. So I would say practice it at least a few months before getting in live. But it is a great way to supplement your income, or even retire early and just do day trading as your 9 to 5. So it is a good way to earn an income and also earn extra funds. But I would say make sure you get the proper training and education. And there's a lot of formats out there that can help you train and do the simulations.
Awesome. Next question. Would you invest in stock from the company that you work for? So would you invest in stock in your own company? So Skylar, I'm gonna kick this one out to you.
I would say yes, you can. It depends on your company. I personally work for GE General Electric. So when I started, I want to say the stock price was like, $25, $30. It's currently about $6. So definitely looking for a bounce back, and kind of long-term pickup would be helpful. But I think that a lot of these things aren't short-term. It's kind of like what you see in your company specifically. In terms of General Electric, I mean, it has 6 businesses within it. It's very, very difficult to look at it holistically in that vision, at least from where I am inside the business. So, I mean, I think that there's tremendous growth within the digital space and software applications for larger assets like planes and turbines and et cetera. But the power market itself is very different. So I think it just depends on the business. I think it's fine depending on your actual company that you work for. From my business specifically, you can only go up from here.
Love it. Anybody else like to add anything?
I personally have lost a good amount of money investing in GE stock. But
I need to hear
I have bought more, and I definitely agree. I feel like it's only going to go up, so I'm holding on.
Love it. So
as far as my company, so I work for Adient. We're a seat tier 1 seat manufacturer. Similar to GE, we kind of took a dive to where I think our lowest, it bottomed out to maybe like $10 a share, but now it's been going back up. But I kind of also lost a good chunk of money on that as well. However, I guess the turnaround of our business and financially speaking, things are looking better. I
think Vance
froze
up on us. It's all right though. So I should probably put some type of disclaimer, some legalese here. We're not your financial advisor, so whatever you do with this information, be wise about it. So the next few questions, so these are and I say that because these are very specific questions. So would you buy American Airlines stock? And I think I want to change that question. What are you looking for in a stock? What makes a stock viable and what would make you want to buy a stock instead of a specific airline stock? And we can touch on airlines as well, because I know that's been a hot thing, but what would make a stock viable for you to buy?
Like I said earlier, balance sheet, CEO foresight, and then just overall looking at how they fit in the current scheme. So understanding how they do business, what their business makeup is. Is it going to be something that I can see myself using in the foreseeable future? Is there substance there? And then if I am investing in it, am I looking at it as a long-term investment or short-term investment? So if we do just say American Airline or any of the airlines, if you're getting into it, it's most definitely going to be a long-term investment for you, because getting out of this pandemic and them getting back to profits and getting the type of sales that they were getting, it's going to take a while. So you know that you might hit some more lows, you might hit some ups, some downs, whatever it might be, but it has to be a long-term play on this one. If you're looking for something where you're just going to, put a few $100s in and you're trying to make, some quick money off of it, I wouldn't pick that as a stock to just, try to get some quick money off of. It will be a long-term play on it.
Love it. All right, so I'm gonna go to the poll really quick. And I think Vance will probably get a kick out of this one. How do you feel about lending people money? And I'm happy you're back, Vance. They had a quick bathroom break. I appreciate you coming back to join.
It's thunderstorming out there.
I heard that. So how do you feel about lending people money? I'm comfortable with it. Depends on the person. Can't tell family no, and I'm not the bank.
It depends on the person, honestly. I've definitely made some bad decisions in the past. There's still outstanding loan that I've been trying to collect. But I won't speak on that. However, it honestly depends on the person, and you as a person, with it being your money, you have the right to request additional information from this person. See if they're, if you just like a bank, see some bank statements or see some paycheck stubs to see if they even have if they're even able to pay you back. So I feel like is the most important thing, to basically put yourself in a better position, and don't feel bad if you can't lend somebody money. At the end of the day, it's your money. So if they ain't paying, they put money towards your bills. They have no say in what you do. So don't feel bad if I tell you no.
Well, love it. So next question: what's a good nest egg amount? So dollar amount probably wouldn't be the best answer, or is it a dollar amount, or is it a percentage as far as the nest egg?
Depending on the definition of nest egg. Well, their nest egg as far as more elaboration on what they think nest egg.
Yeah, Kelvin, can you give us a little bit more background on that question, and we'll try to get that answered for you. Next question: what are the most important questions to ask regarding the equity portion of a job offer? So if you have a job offer, we're talking about the equity portion. What are some good questions to ask? Anybody like to take a stab at it?
I think this would be another great roundtable to have around what you should ask around that. Most definitely, I guess the range. Where does most of the people that are in this position fall within that range?
Right.
And how do you get to the upper end of that range with working in that position? I think those are it, but I would be open to hearing what other people think. That's a great question.
Anyone else?
No, I agree. I think that definitely try to do your research in terms of the company itself specifically, as well as similar companies in terms of what typically that range is. Also asking around vesting time. So how long do you have to stay before you actually vest and you qualify for that amount? I think that probably about covers it, but definitely throughout your interview and responses, demonstrate your enthusiasm for the growth of the company and the value that you're bringing, to really emphasize that, you know, you believe in the company and you find value in the equity that you want back in return.
Love it. So quick comment in chat. Somebody said, I lend no more than $20. Hey man, that's hard. That might be a good number.
If I can afford for it not to come back, I might lend it. But if I can't afford for it not to come back, it's not going out.
Awesome. Question, another question, man. And I appreciate all of these questions. These are really good. So we're gonna land this plane by 8:15. Try to make it an hour and 15 minutes. So we're gonna be done in about 13 minutes. So if you have any last minute questions, comments, concerns, emotional outbursts, alibis, anything that you would like to ask our panelists, go ahead and throw those in the chat right now. What is the best college fund for any child that gives the best interest? So a college fund, options for children. I don't have any children, so.
So, I mean, you're going to look at a 529 plan. That's going to be where they would solely have to go to a university in order to use those funds. So it all depends on how you plan on raising your child. For my household, we just had our first child, and the way that we're seeing it, we're more so going to use a custodial account because one, we're hoping she gets a scholarship, and then two, in this day and age that we really live in, people can become entrepreneurs without even having to go to college. So if my daughter has a plan to where she wants to start a business her second year in college, I want to be able to have the money in a custodial investment account for her to help her start that business and to get her out there early, taking those risks and trying to bet on herself. So you can't do that with a 529 plan. Those funds only have to go to a university. If that individual child that 529 is set up for, use those funds, or they get a scholarship, it can go to someone else in the family. So it can go to the next child in line to go to school, a cousin, or if, let's say, mom or dad decide to go back to school, they can use it, but it has to be used in school. So I'm a big believer in the custodial accounts because the funds are so flexible in there. And you can help, and you can pick an array of investments that are going into that. So you have a lot more flexibility. The tax advantages aren't as good as the 529s, but I mean, the upside for everything else, it doesn't match it.
Love it. All right, so we have a little bit more clarity around the nest egg question. It says emergency fund as far as the nest egg.
So yeah, expenses 3 to 6 months, or if you someone like Vance, expenses for a year. I would say nothing more than that, because those funds can either go into some type of investment or long term and help grow some money.
Awesome. Got another comment. I don't lend money unless I can give it away. I think that's probably a good rule.
Yeah.
It's probably a good rule. Unless it can't be a gift, you probably shouldn't be giving it away.
That's legit.
Got a couple more questions coming in, and Nick, I'll pass it back to you. how can newlyweds create an investment opportunity? So, Dan,
that's a great question. First of all, you most definitely have to have that conversation. Hopefully it was a conversation that you had before you got married, as far as investing and doing different things and how you guys plan to see your household. So creating some investment opportunities can either be through different businesses, as we said earlier, passions, hobbies, most definitely rental properties, duplexes, different things of that nature. That can also go for newly college grads, and instead of renting an apartment, find a duplex, rent one side out, have them pay for the whole place, and you live another side free. So most definitely having that discussion, seeing how much you're willing to invest, how much the family and the household can give up, and go from there. And then once again, going back to your inner circles and talking to either other newlyweds on other investment options that they've gone through, how it's affected their marriage, because that's going to be what you really want to hear is, we can tell you a million and one ways to invest, but you're going to want to hear how it affected that marriage. I mean, owning property and getting calls at 2-3 in the morning that your tenant busted out the window, it can affect your household, because now you got to wake up 3 o'clock in the morning. You might not want to wake up the kids. And so you have to, have those conversations with people that are in those spaces.
And this is the last question in the chat. Can we talk about putting kids or just other people in general on credit accounts as authorized users? Are there any benefits, pros, cons, and different to that? Would you do it?
So, they've made changes to it. Previous or in the past, it used to be able to piggyback off of cards, and actually people would make money off of it by adding people onto their cards to help boost credit. But as far as your kids, when they're of a certain age, I most definitely would say do that, so it can help boost their credit. It might not boost the score, but it would help with the experience of using credit, and it will give them some type of credit history on there. So it wouldn't be per se adding them on as an authorized user. It'll more so be adding them on as a joint owner. That's where they're going to get the biggest bang for the credit experience. They're kind of moving away from just the authorized user as a credit history thing, because they're seeing how people are being able to leverage it.
Love it. Vance, would you like to add anything? Or Skylar?
I don't have anything.
No, it's all right. And this is really the last question in the chat box. So this is really the last one. Cut it off. What's the best 6 months? So remind me. So I'll ask you. What's the best 6 months return you can consider? 12 months, just to see if it's working, if possible. I'm not familiar with how the investment market, stock market works. So I guess we're looking for suggestions for a 6-month ROI and a 12-month ROI if you're putting in money. So that's relatively quick. That's a quick turnaround.
Yeah. So I would say if you're not an experienced day trader, future trader, options trader, it's not going to be the stock market. Stock market is really for 5 years out. That's really where you want the sweet spot as far as holding the stock. Even though, some people just say 1 year, 1 day, so you can get that tax advantage or whatever. Vance will probably know a little bit more about that. But as far as the 6 to 12 month, you're probably going to be looking at CDs. Those rates are going to be horrible right now, but that's where it's going to really be for you in that 6 to 12 month range. Anything else will be a total risk. It's going to be very high risk if you're trying to get into some type of investment for a 6 to 12 month mark. Is it doable? Yes, but you really need to know what you're doing.
The casino.
you still got better chances in the investment.
At the Soaring Eagle. Skylar, how about you? Anything? I think so.
On black.
Or you could give it to me and I'll turn it into zero.
Take the 50, turn it into $5,000.
You join our blessing board. All we need is 7 more people. I just need 7 more people on the board. We could turn it around. We could flip it. Yeah, I think CDs. Yeah, maybe your friends are starting businesses and maybe you want to invest in their business. Maybe that's a quick turnaround. I'm not doing any shameless plugging, but there's people out here who are looking.
Yeah, most definitely with friends that's doing business shows. But you have to know the person. Please know the person. Please know their business.
And their
and look at their financials.
Right. Fair. Good call out. All right, that's it. That's the last for the chat. Nick, what's your last couple questions, and we'll get to wrapped up.
So the last question that I have for the panel is really, we kind of touched on it a little bit in regards to like scholarships for kids and things like that, but really wanted to kind of touch on what advice do you have for parents in teaching their children or future children to be more financially literate?
I'll start. I mean, the way I learned when I was younger, I used to balance my mom's checkbook. I think it's a lost craft. A lot of people just use their debit or credit card and just hope that they can pay it at the end of the month or the end of the pay period. Starting small. I mean, just showing them how to balance their checkbook, their budget, and then as you're taking meetings, they need to go with you. So if you're going to meet with your financial advisor, they need to go. Even if they can't really comprehend what's going on, subconsciously when they grow older, my mom and dad went to someone to talk about it. It's okay for me to go talk to somebody about it. And then when they get older, show them exactly what you're doing. So one thing we're doing with my daughter, we're buying her stock now. And as she gets older, I'm going to sit her down and show her exactly what she's doing. Because at the end of the day, they're custodial accounts. So at 18, it gets turned over to her. I won't have control over it. So I have to teach her how to, manage this money. Because, hopefully it's a large sum of money that she'll be getting. And she has to be responsible for it. So you have to sit down and show them. When you and your wife are going over your budget, have your kids in there also. Maybe you don't want to show them how much you make, but show them how to balance the budget.
Yeah, Dan hit that on the head. Dan, he cleaning up.
Skylar, I'm not sure if you had anything to add in regards to, anything from a good business practice or anything that you would, if you had, a younger mentor or something like that, you might show them.
Yeah, I mean, I think he hit it on the head, but the biggest piece I think to take away from that is just early exposure, getting comfortable with the terminology and some of the tools, and not being afraid to ask for help. So I think that just kind of sets you up for the future, whether it's starting out with your allowance to learning what stocks are and inevitably having that earlier intro to what credit and credit cards are. So you're not really left at a bad place of kind of digging yourself out and trying to learn after the fact. So definitely early exposure.
Absolutely, planting those seeds for sure. And as far as questions on this end, Shell, it's pretty much all I have. I don't know if anything else came through the chat box or if you had anything to add from a question standpoint.
No, we got some kudos in the chat box. Everybody's saying thank you, great advice, amazing, awesome. All right, so I do have one last question. This is my very last question. And this is a quick answer. One book that you would suggest about money management, about financial literacy. I'll start with Vance.
The Millionaire Next Door.
Millionaire Next Door. Love it. I read that. Dan, how about you?
Anything with Dave Ramsey as far as getting rid of debt is good.
Love it. Skylar, how about you?
I would agree with David Ramsey. I'd say that it's especially like with the Instagram platform, it's got the easiest digestible bites. But really anything that just piques your interest, whether it's some current podcasts that kind of deep dives into certain companies about different things, whether it's technology or financial aspect, definitely get into those.
Perfect. Nick, last but not least, how about you? See, you got it ready. It's a good one.
Richest Man in Babylon.
So must read.
Must read. Absolutely.
I read
Hey,
Rich.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Just one thing. I mean, a podcast that I follow is Earn Your Leisure. They have a lot of great content on there. covering an array of topics, and it's African American ran, and it's something to help push forward that financial literacy in our communities. So if you guys really just wanted to find some great things on different topics, they have some excellent podcasts, and also they're on YouTube, so you can just look on there. And then Wall Street Trapper, if you follow him on Instagram, he most definitely would drop some nuggets for you as far as the stock market. And then the Master Investor, he's on IG, Ian Dunlap. For the person that asked about futures, he most definitely gave some good insight on futures and really got me into looking about it. And he was on Earn Your Leisure, and now they do Market Mondays. So they are a great platform for you to watch and go forward.
Love it. Thank you. So those are my last questions. So parting words, anybody? So we'll start. Nick, what do you got, man? Tell us about what you're doing.
For me, I just want to say thank you first and foremost for allowing myself and the Urban Prophet to be a part of such an amazing platform. The panelists that we've had this evening, as well as some amazing information, and from the chat box alone, you can see the overwhelming kudos. So I just want to say thank you all for allowing me to be a part. But as far as the urbanprofit.com is concerned, if you haven't followed us, we're on Instagram is our main form of social media. We're on Twitter as well. But majority of all of that information you can find on the urbanprofit.com. More so featuring, amazing posts from Vance, and, I've had the opportunity to interview Shell, and we have a lot more cool and amazing things in store. So everything you can follow is on the urbanprofit.com. And as far as regular social media, my handle everywhere is Nick in Real Life. Life is spelled LYFE. So if anyone has any questions, comments, or concerns in regards to anything at all, definitely feel free to reach out.
Love it. Skylar, how about you?
Nope, all good.
It's all good. Dan, how about you?
Most definitely thank you for this, Shell. I mean, getting us together and to just speak about this to the masses is great. Shameless plug for my wife is be on the lookout for a book that she's writing. Hopefully we'll have it done and out to the public soon. Fruit of a Spirit-Led Leader, and we're most definitely going to be coming to your inner circle to most definitely talk about it in more details, and just continue to bless people with insight around being a spirit-led leader, and also being able to be financial literate.
Love it.
What about those mac and cheese muffins?
Hey, as soon as this book, I'm gonna go ahead and open that restaurant.
That's the whole food truck. I would invest. I think we can get a 6 month ROI on that.
Okay.
Legit.
Vance, how about you?
I just want to echo what everybody else said. I'm grateful and blessed to be able to be on this panel, especially with the professionals that are on here. Definitely humbled with being on here with you guys. I guess a couple shameless plugs. July 15th is the extended tax deadline. You still need your taxes done. Reach out to me. I do tax consulting and tax preparation. You could go to the website. It's www.fulton-tax.com. And also, I'm a tax partner with the Black Tree CPA Group. So if you want to look or get some business consulting done, or financial statement audits, or if you want us to just look over your business and look for ways that you can improve, you could go to the website for that. That is www.blacktreecpa.com. And I'm wearing a Marshawn Lynch jersey because, first thing, I look for him because he's one of the people who also lives below his means. If you ever read a story that he's never touched his money from the NFL, he lives strictly off of his endorsements. And also, one of the realest things he said last year, which I want to leave you guys with, is, take care of your body, take care of your mentals, and take care of your chicken. So
take care of your chicken. Love it. Chicken is short for chicken scratch for those who are scratching their head. So love it. Wise words from a decent man. Thank you, Vance. And last but not least, thank you all. No, and all the thanks. Thank you all for doing this. Thank you, Nick, for asking most of the questions that, I didn't want to do anything today anyway. So that was like the plan. That was really the plan. So honestly, I appreciate you. I think just that's what your inner circle is about. And I know we talked a little bit about having people in your circle, people who are going to push you, people who are going to motivate you, guide you, inspire you, check you when you need to be checked. And I think that's super important. And then also people who you can give your job responsibilities to for a day. I think that's also important. So once again, I appreciate you. And I appreciate the conversation from the audience. All of you asked your questions. I know people are jumping off. So I appreciate all of you as well for doing that. Last but not least, next month's panel, we're going to be talking to not two first-time authors, but we're going to be talking about writing books and first-time authors. Tips and tricks for writing books. So that's next month. I'm getting a little blurry on my end, so that must mean it's time to go. And that's all I got. I thank you. Once again, thank you for coming to Your Inner Circle. Until next time, friends, until next month, we'll do it again. Thank you. Thank you.